Dear my friends, they mad as hell you won't bow. And that's exactly why you must keep standing. See, the moment you refuse to shrink, the moment you chose dignity over desperation, something in them got exposed. Your strength revealed their weakness. Your clarity disturbed their confusion. And now they're uncomfortable because you didn't let their lies define your truth. They threw shade, hoping you'd crumble. They spread rumors, expecting you to beg for validation. But instead, you rose, you stood, you walked with your head high and your soul anchored. And now they don't know what to do with you because they can't control a spirit that's already free. This ain't arrogance, it's awareness. You finally see who you are, and you're done bowing just to make broken people feel powerful. Refusing to bow doesn't make you weak. It proves you've got backbone. They wanted you to play small. They wanted you to second-guess your value, question your path, and surrender your strength, but you didn't. And that's what's driving them mad. See, when you refuse to bow, it's not just about resistance. It's about identity. It's about knowing that your worth was never up for debate. It's about having the courage to be misunderstood, criticized, and even hated. All because you chose to stand tall when it would have been easier to stay quiet and blend in. That's not weakness. That's not defiance for show. That's backbone, and it's rare. Because in a world full of people performing for applause, you chose authenticity. And authenticity always offends the fake. Refusing to bow doesn't mean you're hard-headed. It means your heart is anchored. It means you've seen too much, been through too much, and grown too much to lower yourself to please people who never had your best interests in mind. You're not interested in fitting in anymore because you finally understand fitting in is the opposite of standing out. And you weren't built to shrink. You weren't created to water down your voice just to be accepted by people who fear their own reflection. No, you were made to stand strong. Even when your knees shook, even when the pressure mounted, even when silence felt safer, you still stood. Why the room shakes when you rise, that kind of strength makes people uncomfortable because your posture, your refusal to fold exposes every place in them where they've compromised. Your strength reminds them of the courage they gave up on. So don't be surprised when they label you arrogant. Don't be shocked when they call you difficult, stubborn, or too much. That's what people say when they can't manipulate you. That's the language of those who lost control and now don't know how to handle your freedom. You didn't bow. So now they question your loyalty, your character, even your faith. But the truth is, your loyalty was never to their comfort. It was to your calling. And anything that costs you your peace, your values, or your purpose is too expensive anyway. Refusing to bow is also an act of love to yourself. It's you declaring, I won't betray myself to belong. Because you've done that before. You've smiled when it hurt. You've said yes when your spirit was screaming no. You've played along to keep the peace, and all it brought was more chaos inside, but not anymore. Now you understand that bowing doesn't always mean humility. Sometimes it's submission to dysfunction. And while humility is powerful, self-betrayal is not. You can be humble and still stand. You can be kind and still refuse to be used. You can walk in love and still say, I will not bow to anything less than what God put in me. And here's the truth they won't tell you. The strongest people are the ones who stand alone before they're celebrated. The ones who are labeled rebellious before they are called visionary. The ones who are overlooked before they're respected. Your refusal to bow might look like rebellion now, but one day it will be the reason someone else finds the courage to rise. Because when you stand, you don't just break chains for yourself. You light the path for others. You're showing your children, your circle, and your community what it looks like to have integrity when no one's clapping. That's legacy. That's leadership. And yes, it gets lonely. Yes, it's exhausting to always be the one who takes the high road while others try to tear you down. Yes, there are nights when you wonder if it's even worth it. But let me remind you, every person who ever shifted the course of history was called crazy before they were called courageous. Every person who walked in purpose had to face the fire, the rejection, and the silence before the breakthrough. So don't mistake the storm for failure. Don't confuse opposition with error. Sometimes the very fact that they're trying so hard to break you is the evidence that you're on the right path. Pressure doesn't come against the weak. It comes against the powerful. And if you weren't carrying something great, they wouldn't be this mad that you're still standing. Your backbone is your boundary. It tells the world what you will and won't accept. And when you refuse to bow, you teach people how to treat you. You train them to approach you with respect, not entitlement. You show them that your love isn't up for ransom, that your peace isn't for sale, and your identity isn't up for auction. So let them talk, let them roll their eyes, let them try to shame you into silence. That's noise, and you weren't born for noise. You were born for purpose. They don't know your battles. They didn't see the nights you cried in silence. They weren't there when you prayed for the strength to keep going. And yet here they are angry that you won't hand over your power. That's not your problem. Your job is not to make small people feel tall. Your job is to walk boldly in your truth, no matter how it rattles the room. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be light. And light doesn't bow to darkness, it breaks it. So stand even if you stand alone. Even if your voice trembles. Even if your friends turn to enemies and your supporters vanish. Stand because your soul deserves that kind of loyalty. Stand because the child version of you prayed for the strength you now carry. Stand because when the dust settles and the noise fades, it's the ones who never bowed that get remembered. Not for their rebellion, but for their resilience. And when it's all said and done, they may never admit it out loud, but deep down they'll know. You were the one who stood when everyone else bowed. You were the one with the backbone. The storm didn't break you. It built you, and now you walk with unshakable power. Because you letting go of the need to explain chose to rise, not bow. Their anger is the sound of their defeat. They won't say it out loud, but they're furious. Furious that after all they tried, after the slander, the gossip, the silent treatments, the manipulation, the setups, you're still here, still breathing, still rising, still standing with your head high and your spirit intact. You see, their anger isn't random. It's not coming from a place of strength. It's coming from frustration, from defeat, from the crushing realization that they couldn't bend you, couldn't shape you, couldn't control you. And now that rage they're carrying around, it's just the echo of their own failure to keep you beneath them. People don't get mad when they still have power over you. They get mad when their influence runs out, when you stop answering calls that only brought confusion, when you stop chasing conversations that never led anywhere, when you cut off the emotional credit line they were using to keep you tied up in guilt. That's when the fury shows up. That's when the passive-aggressive comments start. When the fake concern turns to petty shade, when the silence becomes louder than the noise ever was. They're not just mad at you. They're mad they couldn't trap you in their drama anymore. And the moment you said enough, that's the moment their power died. You have to understand, some people feed off of your submission. Your silence gave them dominance. Your tolerance gave them room to walk all over your boundaries. And as long as you played your role, they were comfortable. But then something shifted. You grew, you woke up. You started to see the game for what it really was. And when you stopped showing up as the old version of you, they didn't know how to respond. So they got angry, not because you hurt them, but because you healed without them. Because you stopped needing their approval to breathe. And that's when they knew they lost access to the parts of you they were never meant to have in the first place. Their anger is not your responsibility. Let that settle. Their inability to control you is not your guilt to carry. You didn't do anything wrong by finding your strength. You didn't sin by choosing peace over chaos. In fact, you did the most courageous thing of all. You broke the cycle, and when people are addicted to dysfunction, healing looks like betrayal. But don't let that confusion pull you back. Their war is with themselves, not with you. You just became the mirror. The reminder that it's possible to rise, that it's possible to live without faking, without begging, without dimming your light, just to be accepted. And that's what they hate the most, that you didn't break, that the weapon they formed didn't prosper, that every seed of doubt they tried to plant in your mind never took root. You see, your endurance exposed their weakness. Your peace exposed their noise. Your joy exposed their bitterness. So they're mad. Mad that your silence is louder than their insults. Mad that your glow is brighter than their shade. Mad that your elevation didn't come from revenge, but from release. But don't get it twisted. This isn't about ego. This isn't about walking around with a chip on your shoulder. This is about finally seeing the truth. About realizing that some people never wanted to build with you. They wanted to benefit from your brokenness. They wanted the version of silence over explaining. The real strength you that was too scared to speak up, too insecure to walk away, too loyal to see the pattern. And when that version died, so did their comfort. So now their anger is just grief. Grief over the control they lost over the version of you that no longer exists. You want to know the real flex. It's not clapping back. It's not revenge. It's not trying to match their energy. It's walking away without bitterness. It's healing so deeply that their name no longer triggers a reaction. It's living your life with purpose, not performance. It's doing better without ever needing to prove it. That's what shakes them. That's what confuses the ones who hoped you'd fall apart, because they thought your strength came from them. They thought they were the source, but you showed them. Your source was never external. It was spiritual, internal, divine. That's why you still have peace while they're stuck in pieces. Every time they see you thriving, they remember the version of themselves that tried to keep you stuck. That's not on you. That's their lesson to learn. Your only job is to stay focused. Keep healing, keep growing, keep walking in truth. Don't let their noise pull you back into a narrative you've outgrown. The same ones who laughed when you were struggling are now whispering because they can't understand your rise. But let them whisper. Let them speculate. Let them stew in the silence of their defeat. You're not obligated to explain the strength that came from surviving everything they thought would destroy you. And here's something else. They don't miss you. They miss the version of you that gave without boundaries, that loved without self-respect, that forgave without accountability. But that version is gone. And what they're angry about is that you finally chose yourself. You finally saw the value in your own voice, and you realized that loyalty doesn't mean self-sacrifice. You can still love people and outgrow them. You can still forgive them and never let them back in. That's not cold. That's wise. That's not petty. That's peace. So don't let their anger shake you. Let it confirm you. Let it validate that your boundaries are working, that your silence is powerful, that your healing is visible. The same people who once dismissed you are now disturbed by your growth. And that's not your burden to carry. It's their consequence to live with. Their anger is just noise. And the only reason it's loud is because you've become something they never expected. Free from their grip. Free from the lies. Free from the cycles. And most of all, free from the need to prove anything. That's the true win. That's the real elevation. So lift your head high, not in pride, but in peace. You didn't bow, and now their anger is shouting what their words never could. You won. Standing strong comes with enemies, but it also comes with power. There's a cost to standing strong, and if no one told you, let me be the first. The moment you stop living for approval is the moment you become a threat. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you stopped playing their game. The moment you stood tall and chose truth over comfort, boundaries over people, pleasing, purpose over popularity, you exposed something. You became a mirror. And mirrors make people uncomfortable, especially when they've been hiding from their own reflection. Standing strong doesn't always bring applause. It brings resistance. It brings whispers. It brings haters. But it also brings a power that can't be taken, only owned. Enemies don't gather where there's nothing to attack. They don't throw stones at shadows. They come for the light. They come for the one who refuses to bow. When you stand firm in your values, your truth, your growth, they notice. And while some will admire you, others will try to pull you down, not because you've harmed them, but because your strength convicts their weakness. Your confidence disturbs their insecurity. Your clarity threatens their confusion, and your peace, it exposes the chaos they've grown comfortable in. So, they come for you, not because you're wrong, but because you're right, because your existence challenges theirs. But here's the part most people don't realize. Standing strong doesn't just create enemies. It awakens power. A deep, unshakable internal power that no applause could ever give, and no criticism can ever take away. When you realize you can survive being how boundaries expose true loyalty misunderstood, lied on, left out, or even betrayed, and still get back up, something awakens in you. A strength that doesn't come from approval, but from alignment. Alignment with your purpose, alignment with your truth, alignment with your creator. And once you touch that power, you stop needing permission to be who you are. You walk differently, speak differently, think differently, because you know no one gave you that power, so no one can take it. Standing strong will make you feel isolated. There will be seasons where it's quiet, where you'll wonder if doing the right thing is worth it, where you'll be tempted to shrink just to be accepted again. But don't, because that silence isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's in those quiet moments where your power multiplies, where your roots grow deep, where your clarity sharpens. The isolation is not rejection, it's refinement. God sometimes removes the noise so you can hear yourself again, so you can unlearn the lies and remember who you are. That solitude births strength, and from that strength you rise. Enemies are part of elevation. Let that sink in. You can't rise without resistance. You can't go higher without pressure. That's the nature of growth. The presence of enemies is not a sign to retreat. It's confirmation that you're stepping into something greater. Even the people who try to block you are unknowingly pushing you. Their attacks are fuel. Their doubt is fire. Every time they try to limit you, God uses it to lift you. So don't waste energy trying to change their minds. You weren't called to convince you. We're called to conquer. You weren't built to beg you. We're built to build. So let them talk. Let them twist the truth. Let them roll their eyes. That's none of your business. Your job is to stay focused, stay grounded, and stay moving. And here's what most don't see. Standing strong also inspires. It breaks chains. It gives others permission to rise. When you stay standing, even when it's hard, you become a lighthouse. Others see it quietly. They take notes. They gather courage. You might feel like you're alone in the fight, but you're not. Someone's watching. A young girl who's learning it's okay to speak up. A man who's been told real strength is silence, but now sees it's found in truth. A soul who's been waiting for someone to go first, so they know it's possible. Your strength is not just for you. It's legacy, it's impact. Now let's be honest. Standing strong doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It doesn't mean you won't have moments where you want to quit. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the refusal to let it stop you. It's saying, yes, I'm scared. Yes, this hurts. Yes, they're talking about me, but I'm still showing up. I'm still doing what I was called to do. That kind of courage rewrites generational stories. It breaks cycles, and it builds character that applause could never develop. Standing strong also means refusing to lower your standards just to keep certain people around. If they leave because you finally chose peace, let them. If they turn bitter because you stopped bending to their will, let them. You're not losing them. You're finding yourself. And every time you choose strength over shrinking, your power increases. Every time you protect your energy instead of proving your worth, your value multiplies. That's how real power works. Quietly, deeply, unapologetically, and don't think for a second that God doesn't see it. Every time you stood when it would have been easier to fall, he was watching. Every moment you bit your tongue to preserve peace, he was listening. Every tear you cried in silence, every prayer you whispered under your breath, every battle you fought alone, he saw it all. And he's not unjust. There's a reward for the resilient. There's a blessing for the bold. He honors those who stand in truth, even when the crowd walks away. So keep standing, because your strength is not in vain. Let them gossip. Let them scheme. Let them walk away. You're not standing for them. You're standing for something greater. You're standing for freedom, for peace, for truth, for legacy. And most of all, you're standing for the version of you who almost gave up, who almost bowed, who almost forgot how powerful they are. But you didn't. You stood. And because of that, power is the loneliness of standing tall flowing through your veins now. Divine, unstoppable, undeniable power. So yes, standing strong comes with enemies, but it also comes with favor, with growth, with authority, with peace. You can't have one without the other. But the beauty is once you know who you are, once you taste real strength, you stop fearing enemies because you realize they were never your problem to begin with. They were just part of the process, a footnote in your story. And your story, it's only getting started. So stand tall, stand proud, stand unmovable, because power belongs to those who refuse to bow. You don't need to explain your strength to the weak. There comes a moment in life when you realize not everyone is meant to understand you. Not everyone is capable of seeing the vision God placed inside of you. And most importantly, not everyone deserves an explanation. You've spent too long trying to justify your growth to people who are committed to staying small. You've watered down your strength, your voice, your standards just to keep the peace, just to stay relatable, just to avoid making others uncomfortable. But let's be real, your strength is not a threat. It's a gift. And if it shakes the weak, let it shake them. That's not your burden to carry. That's their mirror to face. See, the moment you started healing, elevating, setting boundaries, they started acting like you changed on them. And maybe you did. Maybe you finally stopped dimming your light just to make insecure people feel comfortable. Maybe you finally stopped tolerating disrespect just because you feared being alone. And now that you've stepped into your power, the ones who benefited from your silence are the first to call you arrogant. But let's make one thing clear. Confidence is not arrogance. Clarity is not coldness, and boundaries